The last truly good day of my marriage was a Tuesday. I remember because Sarah made her famous lasagna, the one with 3 kinds of cheese and the secret ingredient of a little nutmeg that her grandmother taught her. The evening sun was streaming through our kitchen window, catching the dust motes dancing in the air like gold flakes. She was laughing, telling me a story about one of her clients at the architecture firm, her hands gesturing wildly, a smudge of tomato sauce on her cheek. I reached over and wiped it off with my thumb. She smiled at me, that real crinkle-eyed smile that used to make my chest feel tight. I felt a profound, settled happiness. This was my life. This was enough. It's funny how the brain works. I can recall that scene with perfect, painful clarity because it was the calibration point. It was the before picture. Every day after would be measured against that Tuesday, and every day would fall short. The problem wasn't a big thing. It was the absence of all things. The slow, quiet erosion of a relationship into a comfortable partnership. We didn't fight, we discussed. We didn't make love, we performed a familiar, pleasant ritual. We were the poster couple for a successful modern marriage, and inside, I was dying of politeness. Maya came into my life like a splash of color on a gray canvas. She was the new creative director at the ad agency where I worked. Where Sarah was all clean lines and elegant precision, Maya was a beautiful mess. She wore mismatched socks to important client meetings. Her desk was a chaotic avalanche of mood boards and coffee cups, and her laugh was a loud, unself-conscious thing that turned heads in the quiet office. The affair didn't start with a bang. It started with a like on a stupid meme I posted at 11 p.m., then a comment, then a direct message. It was a drip, drip, drip of attention that found the cracks in my foundation. Our conversations were a secret garden where I could be wittier, more cynical, more interesting than the dependable husband I had become at home. The first time I lied, it was a small, hard pellet of guilt in my stomach. I told Sarah I had a last-minute client dinner with the team from the Frost account. The team was Maya. The dinner was at a dimly lit izakaya downtown, a place with bamboo walls and the smell of yakitori smoke. We talked for 3 hours. I learned about her failed art career in Brooklyn, her fear of settling down, the tattoo on her rib cage that she got in Lisbon. I told her things about my own life, my disappointment with my career, my fear of becoming my boring father that I had never voiced to Sarah. It felt like opening a window in a room I hadn't realized was suffocating me. Driving home, the guilt was a physical nausea. I rolled down the windows, convinced the smell of soy sauce and another woman's perfume was a neon sign above my head. I walked into our quiet, dark house. Sarah was asleep, a book splayed open on her chest. I stood in the doorway, watching the gentle rise and fall of her breathing, and I felt like the worst man in the world. But beneath the guilt, humming like a power line, was the thrill. The terrifying, addictive thrill of having a secret, of being seen. A week later, Maya and I met again. This time it wasn't for dinner. It was for a drink at a hotel bar across town. And then, it was for a room. Lying became a skill I honed. I became a master of the fabricated detail. Oh, Dave from accounting, yeah, he's going through a divorce, poor guy. Kept me at the bar for hours. Dave didn't exist. I built a phantom colleague, a ghost of an excuse to cover my tracks. I deleted text messages with the speed of a magician's sleight of hand. I created calendar events for meetings that never were. Maya, my brilliant, perceptive Sarah, seemed to sense a shift in the atmospheric pressure of our lives. "You've been busy lately," she said one night, her head on my shoulder as we watched TV. Just the frost account. It's a monster, but it'll be over soon. I kissed the top of her head. She smelled of home and lavender shampoo. Maya smelled of jasmine and rebellion. I was living two lives, and I was greedy enough to want both. I was a man standing on a cliff, convinced I could balance there forever, ignoring the inevitable, terrifying fall.
For 3 months, I learned to live on the tightrope. My life became a meticulously managed performance, a constant calculation of alibis and erased histories. The guilt didn't disappear, but it mutated into a low-grade background hum, a constant companion I learned to ignore, like the sound of a distant refrigerator. The thrill, however, remained sharp and potent. Maya was a drug. Being with her was an escape from the predictable script of my life. We met in anonymous hotel rooms where the only history was our own, created in stolen hours. She was impulsive, once convincing me to play hooky on a Wednesday afternoon to see a matinee of a foreign film we both hated, laughing through the entire thing. With Sarah, my life was a carefully curated gallery. With Maya, it was a messy, vibrant graffiti wall. But the logistics of the lie were becoming a full-time job. I had a separate, encrypted messaging app. I paid for everything in cash, creating a secret ledger of my betrayal. I became an expert on my wife's schedule, knowing exactly when she had late meetings, client dinners, or weekend site visits. I used her busyness as the architecture of my deception. The first close call happened on a rainy Thursday. I was supposed to be at a team-building workshop an hour away. Instead, I was in a cozy bookstore cafe with Maya, our knees touching under a small table. We were lost in our own world, sharing a single slice of carrot cake. I looked up, and my heart stopped. Sarah was supposed to be at a municipal planning meeting across town. But there she was, standing just inside the bookstore's entrance, shaking the rain off her umbrella. She was with a colleague, pointing towards the architecture section. Panic, cold and absolute, flooded my system. I slid down in my chair, my pulse a frantic drumbeat in my ears. "Don't look," I whispered to Maya, my voice tight. "My wife is here." The next 60 seconds were an eternity. I watched Sarah's reflection in the glass of a bookshelf, my body coiled like a spring, ready to bolt. I saw her laugh at something her colleague said, her profile so familiar it felt like a physical blow. She was mere feet away, completely unaware that her husband was hiding in plain sight. Then, she turned and walked deeper into the store, away from the cafe. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. My hands were trembling. The carrot cake suddenly tasted like ash. "We have to go. Now," I said to Maya, my voice rough. The drive back to my neighborhood was silent and tense. The thrill was gone, replaced by the cold, hard reality of the risk. I had almost been caught. The image of Sarah's unsuspecting face was burned into my mind. That night, I went home and was the perfect, attentive husband. I made her tea, asked her about her meeting, and held her as we fell asleep. The hypocrisy was a poison in my veins, but I couldn't stop. The lies began to multiply, to breed. To cover for the bookstore incident, I had to invent a story about the workshop ending early and me deciding to do some reading at a cafe. I described the cafe in vivid, unnecessary detail, the color of the walls, the type of music playing, layering fiction onto reality until I could barely distinguish them myself. The strain began to show. I was short-tempered with Sarah over trivial things, a dish left in the sink or forgotten grocery item. I was projecting my own self-loathing onto her, punishing her for my crimes. She noticed, of course. "You've been so distant, Leo. And then you're so intense. Is everything okay at work? Is it more than just the frost account?" Her concern was a knife. It would have been easier if she were suspicious, if she were angry. Her unwavering trust was the heaviest weight of all. "I'm just tired, honey," I said, pulling her into a hug, feeling like the most profound fraud in the world. "It's just a rough patch. It'll pass." But it wasn't going to pass. I was too deep. The tightrope was stretching, growing thinner, and I was starting to lose my balance. The fall wasn't a question of if anymore. It was a question of when, and how hard the ground would be when I finally hit. The double life was no longer a thrilling secret. It was a cage, and I was the one who had built it, lock by treacherous lock.
The universe has a way of punishing arrogance. I had grown confident in my double life, convinced of my own cleverness. But the foundation was rotting, and the first cracks began to show in the most mundane of places, a credit card statement. It was a Saturday morning. Sarah was going through our monthly finances at the kitchen table, a ritual as regular as the full moon. I was making coffee, my back to her, when I heard a soft, questioning hum. "Leo," she said, "what's this charge for?" "The Willow Hotel, for $247, last Tuesday." The coffee pot slipped from my hand, crashing into the sink and shattering. Glass and hot water sprayed everywhere. My heart hammered against my ribs. Tuesday, the afternoon with Maya. I'd been so careful to use cash for everything else, the drinks, the dinner, but the room. I'd used my personal credit card, the one I rarely used, thinking it would get lost in the monthly shuffle. A catastrophic, stupid mistake. "Shit!" I yelled, a convenient cover for my panic. "You okay?" Sarah asked, startled by the noise. "Yeah, fine, just clumsy," I said, my voice too high. I grabbed a towel, my mind racing. "The Willow Hotel. Oh, right. That was for the Frost account client. He flew in last minute and accounting was backed up. They asked me to front the cost and expense it. I completely forgot to submit the receipt." The lie flown out, smooth and practiced. I didn't look at her, busying myself with picking up shards of glass, my hands trembling. There was a silence that stretched just a second too long. "It was on a Tuesday?" she asked, her tone neutral. "I thought the Big Frost presentations were on Thursdays." My blood ran cold. She knew my schedule. Of course she knew my schedule. It was a follow-up, a private consultation, very last minute. I finally risked a glance at her. She wasn't looking at the statement anymore. She was looking at me, her head tilted slightly, her expression unreadable. It wasn't anger. It was a quiet, intense scrutiny I hadn't seen before. She was studying me, the way she studied a complex blueprint, looking for structural flaws. "I see," she said softly. She closed the laptop with a definitive click. "Well, don't forget to expense it." The subject was dropped, but the atmosphere in our home had irrevocably shifted. A seed of doubt had been planted. After that, I noticed small changes. Her phone, which she usually left face up on the counter, was now often face down. She started taking calls in the other room. She was quieter, more observant. The paranoia was a constant companion. Every delayed text from Sarah sent me into a spiral. Was she checking my story? Every time she was on her phone, I wondered if she was hiring a private investigator. The guilt and fear were a corrosive acid, eating away at me from the inside. I couldn't sleep. I'd lie next to her in the dark, the space between us feeling like a chasm. I was drowning in the life I had built, and the two women I was lying to were the anchors pulling me under. The thrill was gone, completely extinguished, replaced by the cold, gripping fear of imminent discovery. The fall was coming. I could feel the tightrope snapping, and the only thing left to decide was whether I would jump or be pushed.
The end didn't come with a dramatic confrontation or screaming match. It came with a quiet click. Sarah's phone, left face up on the coffee table while she went to get a glass of water, lit up with a notification from a number I didn't recognize. The preview text was visible on the lock screen. Unknown number. Hi, Sarah. This is Maya's friend. She asked me to reach out. We need to talk about Leo. The world stopped. The air vanished from my lungs. Time seemed to freeze and shatter all at once. I stood there staring at that screen, my body turned to ice. Maya's friend. How? Why? Sarah came back into the room holding her water. She saw my face, followed my gaze to her phone. She didn't snatch it up. She just stood there, her expression unbearably sad. She already knew. She called the house phone yesterday, Sarah said, her voice eerily calm, a flat lake surface hiding unimaginable depths. While you were at work, she said she was a friend of Maya's. She said she couldn't live with the guilt anymore. My legs gave way. I sank onto the sofa, my head in my hands. There were no more lies left. The fortress of deception I had built so carefully had been undermined from within. I didn't want to believe it, she continued, that quiet, devastating monotone never wavering. I thought it was a prank, a mistake, so I gave her my number. I asked for proof. She picked up her phone, unlocked it, and scrolled for a moment before holding it out to me. She was very thorough. It was a photo of me and Maya asleep in that hotel room, the Willow Hotel. It was taken from her side of the bed, my face peaceful, turned toward the camera in a way that was undeniably, unequivocally me. The ground wasn't just falling away anymore. It was gone. I was in free fall. Sarah, The words wouldn't come. What could I possibly say? I'm sorry was a pathetic, meaningless whisper against a hurricane of pain I had unleashed. Don't, she cut me off, and for the first time her voice cracked, a fissure in the ice. Don't you dare! Just get out. Where will I go? I whispered, the words a choked plea. I don't care, she said, and her tears were finally falling, tracing silent paths down her cheeks. But her eyes were full of a fire I had never seen before, a pure, clean fury. To her, to a hotel, to hell for all I care. Just get out of my sight. I can't even look at you. I stood up, my body moving on autopilot. I was a ghost already, evicted from my own life. I walked to the door, each step feeling like a mile. I paused with my hand on the knob, a final, futile hesitation. I heard a sound then that will haunt me for the rest of my days. It wasn't a scream. It was a raw, guttural sob, the sound of a soul being torn in two. It was the sound of our marriage dying. I opened the door and walked out into the cold, empty night. I didn't take a bag. I didn't take a toothbrush. I just left. I got into my car and drove with no destination, no future, just the echoing, deafening silence of my own ruin. The fall was complete, and I had landed in a hell of my own making. The first month was a blur of cheap motels, silence, and a bottomless well of self-loathing. I lost weight, I stopped shaving. The man in the mirror was a stranger, a hollowed-out ghost with empty eyes. I called Maya once. The number was disconnected. She had vanished, a specter from a life that no longer existed, leaving me alone in the wreckage. My lawyer called. Sarah was filing for divorce. She wasn't fighting for assets. She was fighting for freedom. From me. I agreed to everything. I gave her the house,
the savings, everything. It wasn't generosity, it was penance, a feeble attempt to pay a debt that could never be settled. I found a small, barren apartment. It had white walls and a window that looked out at a brick wall. It was perfect. It reflected the emptiness inside me. I started therapy. The first session, I just sat and cried for 45 minutes. I had to learn to sit with the shame, to stop running from the monster I had become. Slowly, painfully, I began to rebuild. Not a life, but a person. I started running, pushing my body until it screamed, trying to outrun the memories. I ate meals alone. I learned the weight of silence. I wrote a long, rambling letter to Sarah. I didn't ask for forgiveness. I just detailed my regret, my shame, the specific moments I remembered from our marriage that I had tarnished. I apologized for the man I had been. I mailed it, not expecting a reply. I never got one, and that was okay. It wasn't for her. It was for me. It was an act of accountability. A year later, I saw her. She was crossing the street, her hand linked with another man's. She was laughing. She looked light. A weight I had put on her was gone. She was healing. The sight was a punch to the gut, but also, strangely, a release. I had caused that pain, but I hadn't destroyed her. She was stronger than my weakness. I turned and walked the other way. My life was smaller now, quieter, but it was real. The cracks in me were still there, but I was finally filling them with something solid, something true. The hard-won knowledge of who I was and a solemn vow to never become that man again.
Your actions have consequences that ripple far beyond yourself, causing deep, lasting pain to those who trust you. But even in the deepest failure, there is a path forward. It begins with brutal honesty, with yourself first. Stop running from your mistakes. Face them. Acknowledge the pain you've caused. True growth isn't about erasing the past, but about learning from it so profoundly that you rebuild yourself into someone stronger, more conscious, and more compassionate. Your past does not have to be your life sentence. Let it be your most powerful lesson. Choose integrity every single day.